Hello and welcome to another Mountain Kingdoms video of Bhutan. Today I'm going to talk about our new Weavers Trail tour, which focuses a lot on eastern Bhutan, which is particularly well known for its weaving skills and traditions. This is a gentle walking tour, but with a focus on visiting people in their homes, seeing weaving centres. We fly into Delhi and then do another internal flight through to a town called Guwahati in the northeastern end of India. And then we drive for about 3 hours and we cross the Brahmaputra River. So here we are crossing the Brahmaputra River and enter Bhutan at the town of Sandrup Yongkar. We spend the night there and then drive up into the foothills, the inner valleys, and it takes us past a very famous weaving centre at a place called Karling, before we finally drive over a pass and down towards the large town of the east, a place called Tashigang. This is what the new road looks like, and what it's going to look like all the way eventually to Tashigang, where there is a massive zong, and we will start our visits based in Tashigang. Sunday, vegetable market day in Tashigang. Everywhere you look, there are people on the pavement selling vegetables. Having reached Tashigang, we spend a bit of the morning having a look around the town and seeing the very impressive zong or monastery fortress there. Before driving out of town and up into a beautiful valley called the Radi Valley. To see people going about their daily life in the fields, and you get a sense of what rural life is like in eastern Bhutan. Fantastic!
Male,
look at that.
Male one, male working here.
Beautiful, beautiful.
This one is a male. You see the horn? Yeah.
I think he's got some friends up the hill because he keeps looking up the hill.
Maybe female.
So there are some lovely places to see in Radi Valley, and probably quite a long day, and we might well get back to Tashigang as we get into the evening. Sunsets are really lovely and dramatic, particularly that time of the year. And then the next day we start our drive towards the town of Mongar. But on the way we visit Drametse, which is again another one of these remote valleys that you would never knew existed, and there's a fantastic temple up there. So after our visit to Drametse, we come back to the long road journey towards the town of Mongar. And having got to Mongar, we are then going to travel north towards Lunsi to visit some of the eastern valleys. However, before you get to Lunsi, we're going to visit two special places, a place called Kaine Lakthang, where there was a temple built by a king of Tibet. In fact, he famously built 108 temples ranging right across Tibet, 2 of which are in Bhutan, to quell a very fierce demon that was holding power over the whole of Tibet. So these are 2 of the oldest temples that there are in the Kingdom of Bhutan. So Kaine Lakthang is particularly important. But a short drive from there is a place called Tangmachu, And this place is really out in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't think to go there particularly, but there's a famous saint who had a prophecy or a vision that if he built a giant statue of the famous Bhutanese saint Padmasambhava, that peace would come to the land and that prosperity for all sentient beings would be safeguarded for the infinite future. So he somehow managed to raise several $1 million to build this thing, and it's an absolutely beautiful, gigantic bronze statue, handmade, up on top of a hillside, miles from anywhere, and it really is spectacular. And having done some chorus of the statue and gained some merit for our souls by doing the circuit, we then drive on to Lorty, which is extremely impressive and held a very strategic point in control of the trade between the east and the west for some time in that eastern part of Bhutan. So, up to this point in time, it's just been me talking about Bhutan and the journey that you're going to make from the east to the west. But I'd like to pass over now to my good friend Sue Lorty. Sue and I have been friends from our early 20s when we were rock climbing in the Bristol Avon Gorge. But over the years, Sue has led many treks for us and weaving tours, which she's already taken 2 weaving tours to Bhutan. And as her life and career progressed, she became a very well-known textile artist. So I'll pass you over to Sue now, who's going to talk about some of the focuses that she has regarding the weaving elements of this tour.
Thanks, Steve. From Lorty Temple, we then go a short distance up a side valley to Chima Village. It's not very far at all. It's a beautiful village, and it's the centre of absolute excellence of weaving in Bhutan. Most of the households weave there, the women outside the household with a backstrap loom that they're working on. And there is a small centre just under an awning where people come from within the village to weave, and we can go there and see the work and buy the work from them. The weaving that happens there is known as kushatara, and it's made of silk warp and silk weft, and it's a supplementary weft which is highly patterned, really detailed, exquisite weaving. The bright coloured silks are used individually, and you see them in the cloth, where the weaver will pick up a few warp threads at a time with a pickup stick and hand lay the colour into the weaving, into the warp. And row by row that is built up over a long period of time, and then when that is all laid, a whole weft goes across, big beater comes down, holds it in place, and then it starts again to build up this very intricate pattern. One of the things that I think is really exciting about the textiles there is that the weavers developed their own styles, so all those highly traditional styles and qualities across Bhutan of the different types of weaving. The weavers developed their own way of working and add colour and pattern through their own interest and artistry. It's fabulous to see. To make a kira, which is about the size of a single bedspread, which would be for the dress of a woman, the weavers take up to a year of extremely fine weaving. The royal family have their textiles, their beautiful goes and kiras from that village. So it's an absolute privilege to see this. We have developed good relations with the people in the village, so now we can stay there and see people in their homes dyeing and weaving and preparing the cloth ready for making of the garments and for the sale. So the centre of the village, there is a pump where people meet to get their water for the households, a mani wall which is rather beautiful with marigolds and flowers around it. And the village houses, many of them are painted really intricately on the ends of the beams with all this beautiful decorative paintwork across. It's astonishing to see, pretty exciting. And when we stay in the village in a homestay, we will stay in one of these houses.
This is quite a famous area historically because the first king of Bhutan, his father, was born and brought up in this beautiful little village called Dunkar, which is very close to the Tibetan border. And he rose to some eminence and became the Zongda, or the man in charge of Luntsi Zong, the big monastery fortress down the valley. And having become that powerful person, he then came back to Dunkar and built himself a small palace of his own, which is the one you see in this picture. The people that I work with, his grandmother owns the house that you see in this last picture in Dunkar, where we have lunch before carrying on back on our journey towards Thimphu.
Travelling west now, we work up through a beautiful national park over the highest motorable road to the pass, the Trumsing La, and then down to Ura, which is a lovely village where we stay in a homestay and explore the area. To stay in a homestay is really special. Lovely family, very welcoming. They give us lovely food and drink. And of course we are at one with the family. Interestingly, in this area now we're towards the centre of Bhutan, the weaving has changed. There is our sheep, so there's wool, so they weave with a different type of loom known as a Tibetan loom, which is a horizontal loom, and a much thicker fabric known as yatra, which is used as rugs and carpets and over furniture. From Ura, we drive down to Bumthang, which is the holiest valley in the whole of Bhutan. And here we will see a festival, which is the most fabulous sight, where people from the village get dressed in their finery. Beautiful goes, beautiful kiras. The whole family comes with a picnic and we see the festival, the dancing and the whole celebration. From Jakar, we are driving west through Tongsa and then Gangte, Punakha to Thimphu, the capital. In Thimphu, the capital, there are so many really interesting things to see. The two highlights are the Textile Museum, which was a very special project of the Queen Mother, and it's absolutely excellent. We see textiles from across the whole of the country, from all the different regions, and the best examples of that. Fascinating. And the other really interesting place is the paper factory, which hasn't changed hardly at all over the last 20 odd years. And we see handmade paper being made, and it's really exciting.
And then the final highlight of the trip is going on down to Paro and doing the hike up to the famous Tiger's Nest or Taksang monastery, where the very famous Saint Padmasambhava flew on the back of a flying tigress to defeat the demons who were opposing the spread of Tibetan Buddhism in the kingdom of Bhutan, or Drukyul, the kingdom of the dragon people.